Welcome to the Costa Property Podcast, the podcast that turns your dreams of owning a piece of paradise on the Costa del Sol into reality. I'm Irina Saltmarsh, and I'm joined by my co-host and wife, Sandra and Warner.
If you're dreaming of your perfect Costa del Sol home, wondering where to start, and want to get real, no-frills expert advice, then you're absolutely in the right place.
Buenos dias and welcome everyone to the Costa Property Podcast. My name's Warner Laurie.
And I'm Sandra Laurie, and we're here today with episode 2 of season 1 on the Costa Property Podcast. Okay, so it's time for Warner's word of the day. And I'm just thinking back about last week's word, so I'm really intrigued to know what word you're going to enlighten us with today, Warner.
Okay, Sandra, are you ready? Drum roll. Today's word of the day is dinero.
Repeat the word.
Dinero.
Okay, so dinero is the Spanish word for money.
And you need to have money.
To move to Spain.
Yes, so you need to have money to move to Spain.
And start your relocation journey.
Absolutely.
Okay. Lovely insight as usual, Warner.
Thank you.
Thanks a million. So today we have Irina with us. And Irina, I'm really pleased to talk to you here today on episode 2. We were really eager actually to get you to appear early on the podcast because what you do is so important for our listeners. So I think before we go into it, Irina, before we really dig into the detail, tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. Thank you very much for inviting me on your podcast. Yeah, my name is Irina. I am originating from Russia, but I left it more than 22 years ago. So I do consider myself truly European from my passport to my mentality. I'm now settled in Spain, happily settled here. I live here with my family, with my husband, to whom I will be married 20 years this year. And we have a beautiful daughter who is now 8, and she was born and raised in Spain. And of course, the cutest cat, our rescue cat. That's my family.
Amazing. And your daughter was born in Spain, so I assume that she's very Spanish in her mannerisms and...
Absolutely, yeah. She's more Spanish than anything else, yeah, for sure.
Amazing. And in terms of at home in your house, like what languages do you guys speak at home, and how is the dynamic with languages at home?
We speak English. Well, that's the language we started speaking with my husband when we met. So we would speak English. But and my daughter, she speaks obviously also English as her. Oh, well, I don't know if this is her first language now. I guess she's bilingual, really bilingual. So she's Spanish and English. But Spanish, as we are not native speakers, we don't speak Spanish at home.
We're the same. It's always English at home and then Spanish in the school. I think advice I got years ago, I don't know about you, is like that you shouldn't really confuse it for your kids. You know, you should have one language that you kind of speak in comfortably at home, and then keep Spanish for school and not cross it over, which I think it's good because the kids end up, you know, really, really in a great position with languages, which is so important. Tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah, we... that's my business. I'm working myself in it. I'm the relocation agent. So I help people to relocate to Spain, help people, families, individuals, couples to really move their life here. I work only in the area of Malaga. I only cover this area because I truly believe that relocation agents should be local to the area, as that's the only way you can give to people all the inside knowledge about the areas, the locations, the habits, the traditions which are particular to this local area. So I don't cover the whole of Spain. I only cover the area of Malaga and Costa del Sol. And I do help people through the whole, it is a very, very stressful experience. I mean, you know it yourself. We all have relocated. I myself relocated several times. I lived in several different countries. I relocated on my own and I relocated with my family. And yeah, it is stressful, absolutely. Even if you are perfectly prepared, it is something not very easy as you're moving to a completely new country, to a completely new language, to completely new laws and traditions and requirements and paperwork. So what I do, I help people from A to Z, from paperwork to maybe helping in finding a home to live, to enroll kids to school, to help to settle, to get local connections.
I think it's incredible what you do. Like, it's such an important job because, as you correctly say, you are supporting somebody to make their dream come to life. Being prepared, right, in terms of you could be having the best to-do lists in the world, but there's a piece there around the mindset support as well, I would imagine.
Absolutely, definitely. And no matter how well you can be prepared, sometimes things just go wrong. And people just tend, if it is all in unfamiliar surrounding, people just get, very, very, very nervous, very stressful. So it is really important to have somebody to hold your hand, I think, personally. Even if you do speak the language, still everything is new and you're not used to how things are done. And if you have somebody by your side with a bit more structured approach and cool, so to say, then it helps people to get through this.
They say that, moving house, never mind moving countries and relocations, is one of the most stressful experiences of your life, right? It's tough. Everybody says to me and Warner when we did our big move in 2016, oh my God, you must have been so brave, just packing up and moving with 2 babies in tow. I think, yes, there is an element of being brave, but it's your dream. And when you know it's right, it's going to work. But I love what you say there around like being there to hold their hand, because, I think when we look back, that's probably what we were missing in terms of helping us navigate some of the tricky situations. So tell us a little bit about typically who do you work with?
I work with all types of people. I have a lot of families who are moving here with their kids, and I think I can especially help because I have a child myself, so I can help people. I can explain people how things work, like with the Spanish schools, that there are differences to the country you're coming from, how they integrate. I mean, parents usually have, of course, lots of worries about how kids are going to integrate, and they're trying to protect them and they're trying to put them into the familiar environment and so on. But to be honest with you, not just families, also lots of couples, lots of retired people. Retired people are choosing, of course, Spain and especially Malaga to come and spend the best years of their life for the climate and food and all the fantastic life Spain can give. I have a lot of professionals who are moving here with business or with their companies. There are companies who are moving their employees and they're contacting me to help to settle them, to find place to live, to help with the paperwork. I have a lot of Europeans, so from EU countries, but also a lot of non-EU citizens coming from the US, from Australia, from the UK, from Israel. At the moment, there are several families coming from Israel, which is quite understandable. So yeah, quite. That's another reason I love my job, because I'm meeting so many different people with so many different backgrounds, and so it's really, really nice to meet those people, to know their stories, their lives, why they are moving.
So intriguing. I think I particularly resonate with what you say there from the family perspective of, the parents usually have a lot of worries about the kids integrating into the schools, right? Especially if the child doesn't speak Spanish and they take the decision to integrate into Spanish school. And I remember when we were going through that, and, you got your heart, oh my God, what am I doing to them? But I always remember our son's teacher at the time just saying, it's just time. Just give it time. Don't rush the river. It will get there in the end.
Are they in the Spanish school, your kids?
Yeah, they are. We made that choice because we wanted them to really immerse into the language, right?
Yeah, that's always the advice I give to all my clients, families, that please put kids into a normal Spanish school, especially if they're young age. It will be a bit challenging in the beginning, but they will integrate in no time.
From your experience, I think you made a really valid point there. I think if there is families listening and they do have kids and they're thinking about relocating, the Spanish school option we always hear that, that's very appropriate if the kids are young. But if the kids are a little bit older, do you go with the same advice, or what's your take on that?
Yeah, it depends on the age. If kids are kind of close to finishing school and they've been, for example, if they're coming from the UK and they've been all the time on their British curriculum and they just have, 1-2 years left, then yeah, I think it would be unfair to put them into Spanish system because firstly, it is the last 2-3 years are much more difficult. You need to have a very good level of Spanish by then. So it is likely that if you put them into a Spanish system, they will have to repeat. They will have to stay at least a year. So they kind of go through a bit of a double stress. They first come into a completely new environment, completely new language. They have to make friends. They are normally at this time also in this a bit difficult age of being a teenager. And then on top of it, they also need to repeat a year. So they go through the same circle again. But having said that, I have seen families who come here with teenage children and who put them into a Spanish system and who succeed, absolutely, who strive. So it very much depends on each individual family and each individual child as well, how sociable, what's the definitely parents know their children better than anybody else. So it's a case by case. But younger kids, as long as they're primary school, always my advice is to use the Spanish system. Of course, again, depends on your plans. If you're coming to Spain, to settle here as a long term, to make it your home, definitely go with the Spanish system. If you come for 1, 2, 3 years, especially those families who come through their companies, they don't know if you're going to stay longer or not, maybe just stay a few years, then yeah, international school would be more appropriate.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with you. I genuinely feel in my heart that the best decision we made was to immerse the kids into Spanish school while they were young and able to do it, because that's how they truly integrate into the culture and really experiencing the nuances of living in Spain, and unfortunately international school is amazing, and I totally agree with you, it depends on your plans, but particularly with the age our kids were at in that primary school era, they were just at that perfect age to really integrate in and learn Spanish language, Spanish school, Spanish culture. So I think if people are in a position, I agree with you, they should absolutely embrace it and do it. You mentioned something really interesting there, which, I probably forgot about when I was thinking about this episode with you in terms of your work, working with companies coming over and doing the relocation piece for employees, which is so important because in the work that I do in my own business, I work a lot with companies in the HR space, and I really see when people move abroad, like how bad the onboarding and integration process for somebody can be when they don't get off to the right start. So, and I would imagine, Irina, in the last number of years with Malaga really diversifying in terms of becoming a tech hub, proximity to the airport, I would imagine you're seeing a lot more of that in your work in terms of companies really eager to get their employees set up in the best way.
Definitely. In the last several years with the explosion of IT industry here and like the announcements of Google coming, there's a lot of smaller companies moving here, opening their offices here. I have worked with quite some few. There was just last year, I worked with a company who moved here from South Africa and moved here lots of their stuff from South Africa, which was very interesting as well. So yeah, definitely a lot are coming here, which is really nice to see as well for the future of Malaga. The problem, unfortunately, we see with that is that our property market is not ready for it. I'm talking about the rental property market, not because, of course, when people come here, especially temporary, the majority are trying to rent a property, and in the beginning, many people would prefer to rent a property before they know where to settle.
And I think, just a question that was coming to mind earlier is that, Spain has pretty bad reputation when it comes to paperwork, the whole area of bureaucracy. And I don't know, is it an old rumor reputation? We hear a lot about, mañana culture, mañana attitude. horror stories of kind of been told different rules each time you go to the town hall, right, to process paperwork. It's almost like you feel like you're going to be sent away for using the wrong color pen. And I think people are really scared of that. And there's a lot of fear around that in people. Do you see that in your work when you start to work with your clients?
Yeah, I think very often people have also wrong assumption. What I see is the problem of, in many cases, that people look for professional advice on such platforms as Facebook, and they use social media to try and get professional advice, or they use a friend in the bar who said something that this should be done like this and like that, and this is how it should be done. So obviously this is a lot of it is coming from there as well, because people don't know really how things are. They don't use the right professional, and they get their own information. Paperwork in Spain, is challenging, like in every country. To be honest with you, I have relocated through several countries. I've been living in Germany and in Switzerland, and Switzerland is one of the countries with the most organized structures. That's definitely true. But paperwork is also paperwork. I mean, okay, the difference is that they really follow their requirements and laws, where in Spain there are laws and requirements which can be interpreted in different way by different civil servants. That's true. But paperwork is paperwork everywhere. And what I think happens is when you don't know the language, especially, it is much more difficult. Yes, Spain has some deserved reputation for sure regarding its paperwork. And especially what is most difficult is the way how it is being interpreted in different organizations and even by different civil servants. So you can come with the same set of documentation one day and it will be accepted, and another day it will be looked at by a different civil servant who maybe is in a different mood this morning. It may not be accepted. So that's where the professional help would be definitely beneficial. Because people like myself, we have experience not just collected from the knowledge of requirements, but also collected from dealing with different type of authorities and different organizations and different civil servants. And we know what they might want to see, how they might want to interpret it. So we, of course, prepare people.
Yeah, I like what you said there around it can be very much dependent on the civil servant that you have on the day. And I never actually associated with it that, but it's so true.
Oh, yes. We're all humans at the end. I mean, we also see it in all our jobs that we take things differently on different days and how we feel. And that's it should not be when it comes to paperwork, but that's the human part.
Totally agree. But as you say there, that's why working with a relocation agent like you really helps to preempt the pitfalls and the challenges that people could fall into, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And in your experience, Irina, what would you say the most common traps and pitfalls that you see?
Well, I would say exactly what I mentioned before, that people just take advice from unprofessional or unprofessional advice from somebody somewhere who has heard something, who has spoken to somebody, but it is not based on real knowledge. I advise people not to take any or not to search for any professional advice on Facebook. I mean, you can search for day-to-day information or for where it's best to go to eat, and about schools and about the life in Spain and in Malaga, but not about how to pay your taxes or how to deal with your paperwork. So that's one of the things. And another, what I see is that very often people come unprepared. So with the attitude, well, we'll get there and we'll see when we are there. We'll deal with that when we are there. But unfortunately, especially for many non-EU citizens, it is not the case anymore, or it has never been the case. When we are talking about British citizens, they became non-EU a few years ago, but many of them still believe that they can do things the old way. So what happens is when they come and start dealing with the paperwork, once they come, then they just run out of time because there is a limited time frame when you need to complete your paperwork. And very often it is not enough to get all the documentation in place. So the best thing is to start preparing as early as possible and have well-developed plan.
And I think it's so interesting what you said there about, the rules for European, non-European, and, how that's changed recently for somebody particularly living in Britain. But if I was to ask you, if somebody was at home and they were listening and their dream was to move to Spain, either to relocate with their family or buy a property, what would you advise them to start thinking about now before they did any big step?
Well, I think the very first thing is to decide the area, the place you want to relocate to. That's absolutely first. First to make a decision you want to relocate, and then to choose the place you want to move to, because Spain is big and Spain is very diverse. The north of Spain is different to the south of Spain. Yeah, there's very many different places which can appeal to you. But the important is not to make the choice of this place based on your, let's say, holiday experience or based again on Facebook feedback. This I see very often as well, that people asking advice like, where shall I move to? It's only you, personally, you who can find it out. So first of all, a lot of homework and research needs to be put in that. And you need to come and visit maybe different places before you decide where you want to move to. And when you come and visit, try also to get some, let's say, real life experience, not just to be on holidays, but really try to see how it would be to live here. That's the very first, I think, decision everybody needs to make, especially if your idea is to straight away buy a property. It's very important that you know the place where you're buying is really the place you want to live. And then if we are talking especially of non-EU citizens, the paperwork, the immigration paperwork is one of the key requirements. So finding out early enough what applies to your particular situation, to your particular family, to the what kind of requirements, what kind of visa procedures, because this takes time.
Great insight there. When it comes to the real life experience part, it's so important what you said there around don't, just assume that you're, on holiday. How does somebody actually go about that? How do they approach the real life experience when they're doing their checks and their due diligence of the areas they want to be?
Well, what we did, for example, when we were looking for the areas to relocate, we were just you're not spending all that. When you come on holidays, you enjoy life. Yeah, you go home, you do nothing. You, go eat, and you go on to the beach, and you go to excursions. And when you come to look for a place to choose for your own for your future home, we just were touring the cities, going inside the smaller towns, to seeing what do we like, what don't we like, looking for where the schools are, where the shops are, going into the shops like really supermarkets and looking what does food cost. If you've managed to meet somebody who really live here on a continuous basis, that's always a very good insight to get from families like yourself, how life is. So things like that. But mostly, every family, of course, knows what is important for them. So they need to decide which area to live, what does appeal to them, what is important for them to have near you, the property prices, the surroundings, just, watch a bit what is happening, what kind of people are moving around, things like that.
I love that. I think that's great practical advice, actually, that probably people don't think about is, when you're doing your due diligence, allow time to meet other families who are on the ground and listen to their first.
And for that, Facebook is great. Facebook is great. So you can use it to try and build some connections with people who already live here.
Amazing. I love that. Just on the non-EU piece, and this is probably something I've seen quite a bit lately. I know it's been a real change in mindset for Brits on the back of Brexit, because their rules for Spain have really changed. And I think that what you mentioned there around the timepiece, start doing the work before you come here, is super important, because so many people come out here with the intention of just thinking, I'll get through the paperwork process, I'll integrate in. They run out of time. Life is turned upside down and they go back. They waste resources, money, time, energy, effort, right? So that's super advice, what you've mentioned there.
Absolutely. And another thing to keep in mind, for example, for all non-EU citizens who come to Spain, unless you come with the company who employs you, or you qualify for a new digital nomad visa. Otherwise, it's very difficult to get a residency permit, which will allow you to work here. So families who come here and think, oh, we're going to continue doing what we were doing back in the UK, we will find a job down there. It was all possible 10 years ago. Yeah, there were a lot of British moving here and then looking on the place what they can do. This is not an option anymore. And this, of course, will slowly, I think people start realizing it. It was just straight after Brexit. It was still so many that didn't believe that this really happened. Now I think people more and more understand it. And this is another important bit that you need to find out before you make your dreams and plans about moving. If you are in the age that you still need to work and you don't have some huge savings, then you need to secure this bit.
Absolutely. And, as you correctly say, don't let the dreams get crushed. Just do the due diligence first and save so much disappointment and energy further down the line. Do you think that not having Spanish is a challenge for people, Irina, or, in your experience, can it be overcome?
It is a challenge, and obviously one of the reasons why people get into these traps we discussed before, like getting the advice of somebody, because people, in a lot of information can be found online. Spain is getting more and more digitalized with their processes, and there's a lot of legal and administration procedures which can be done online, and lots of requirements, or pretty much all the requirements are there online. But yeah, they are all in Spanish, obviously, and you need to know where to look and how to interpret it. So yeah, people not knowing the language, of course, is a disadvantage. But there are enough professionals who are English-speaking professionals who can help you through that. Not knowing the language, it's like in every country. I mean, you take every country, you go to the UK, if you don't speak the language, you're nowhere. Nobody's going to speak with you your own language there. So here, at least, it's, the majority of professionals working with expats to speak English.
Amazing. What's your favorite paperwork preparation tip for people?
Oh, favorite. Well, my favorite tip in overall, to be honest, is just stay positive. It's no matter how well you're prepared, how many plans of A, B, C, D, E, F, and G you have, things can go wrong. Really can go wrong. Also with me, things sometimes go wrong, although I'm very, very organized and I prepare all different scenarios, what can happen. But things can go wrong. The civil servant was today in a very bad mood and you just cannot change it. So the best tip, stay positive. Everything will work out as long as you believe in it and work on the next of your ABCD plans, and things will work out. That's just my favorite tip in everything, not just paperwork.
Totally agree. I think if I look back and reflect on my own journey to Spain, I would say, 8 years ago, I was terrified of the official tasks. Like, actually, I probably had a bit of authority bias or something. I used to get petrified having to go to the town hall. It didn't matter how well I was prepared. It was, my mindset. So you're completely right in what you're saying. You just have to stay positive and get there in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not worth the stress. Yeah.
No, it gets there in the end. And what do you think makes a great relocation consultant like you?
I think it's the willingness of helping people. Let's say I have the experience of relocating myself several times. I know what people are going through. I know how it feels. I know how it is coming to the country, not speaking the word of Spanish. So yeah, having all this background and experience, you know how people feel, you know how people feel about their children, especially also having own children who, my daughter, when she went the first time to school, she didn't speak a word of Spanish either. And it was very, very stressful experience, mostly for us, for parents, you know it yourself. So it's really knowing this exactly what people are going through and how they feel and giving them this emotional support. Yeah, more the not just the paperwork and the list of requirements and being very organized. This all is great, but the most important part is to help people emotionally through what they are going through and to make them feel that you understand it. And
Yeah. Amazing. And I have one more question for you today, Irina, if that's okay. And my final question, and this is the question we ask all our guests, is what do you love most about Spain?
I think I love people. That's again, it's all about people. At the end, it's people would make the country, any country. And Spain has lots of course, advantages like the climate and the food and the mentality and the atmosphere. But it's the people who make it to this country. And Spanish people are mostly very warm and open. There are exceptions, but mostly they are, and they know how to enjoy life. And they are very open for us, for foreigners, for immigrants who come here. And if you do try to integrate, if you do try to learn the language, if you do try to show to them that you like their way and you want to be part of them, they are very, very open. And this not everywhere you are greeted and welcomed in this way. So yeah, I guess I will stay with people.
Yeah, I totally agree. That has also been my experience. You know, the people are superb. So Irina, if we have listeners listening today and they really feel that they could benefit from the support of an expert and relocation consultant like you, how do they reach you?
They can reach me through my website, malagaexpat.com, through my social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram.
And malagaexpat.com is the website. And is that also your social media handles as well?
Yes, Malaga Expat, yeah.
Amazing. Irina, it's been super interesting to speak with you today. I think I've learned loads. And thank you so much for joining us on the Costa Property Podcast.
Thank you both for inviting me. Thank you. Have a lovely day. Bye.
Thanks, Irina. Thank you so much for listening into today's episode on the Costa Property Podcast. Another fantastic episode learning about the highs and lows of relocating to the Costa del Sol from real people who have been through the journey themselves and, of course, our wonderful experts. If you have been enjoying the show so far, remember to hit subscribe to the podcast and leave a rating or review.
We absolutely love hearing your thoughts. Please send any questions that you would like us to answer on the show to warner@wlcostaproperties.net. Or you can pop us a message on our socials, which are in the show notes. Remember, you can also visit the website, www.wlcostaproperties.net.
See you on the next episode, and bye for now.
Bye-bye.